Right, do you know, like, you don't believe in, like, scary stuff? Just like, you know, ghosts.
No, I believe in scary stuff. I don't believe in things that are totally logical. Yeah, ghosts.
Vampires?
No. Anything made up by man.
Well, there was something in the paper the other day about a vampire. How they found one. They dug something up.
It was in the paper?
And,
it's true then.
It's definitely true.
But we'll leave that because you're just going to do that, so it doesn't matter.
No, come on,
come on, quickly, tell us.
No, it's just that they found a body in a coffin with a bit of wood through its heart and a knife in its mouth. But if you don't believe it,
it was
then
a
what's the
vampire
point?
pirate. It was a vampire pirate.
But that's definitely proof of a vampire then, and of course, and not some grotesque murder. Yeah. That's definitely proof of a vampire. If it wasn't made up.
Hang on a minute.
As far as I'm aware, when you put the thing through their heart, they just turn into dust.
And also, all their victims get their own life back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
right. And here was the second bit. Yeah. Somebody had dug it up, got the heart, blended it, burnt it, popped it in some water, drank it, and they're in prison now. Now, if it wasn't dodgy stuff, why are they in prison?
Because they're mental, because they dug up a body, liquidised its heart, burnt it and drank it. That's why they're in prison.
There's your answer.
Right. But anyway, that isn't what I'm talking about, right? But I met Derek Akora the other week.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Now, who's he? Which one's he?
Is
he a medium? He can contact the dead, is that right?
He just chats to him and that, passes messages on.
Nice of him.
So I said, tell us something a bit weird and that. So he said, what do you want to know? I said, just something weird. So he goes, alright then. He said, here's one for you, right? And he said, there's this pub out in the country. And he said, there's this mug. Do you know those old mugs that they have? Where they used to like leave their own cup knocking
like
about,
didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
The tankard thing.
Yeah.
So there was one of them mugs in there, right? And everybody...
Tankard, let's use tankard if we've established that.
Tankard, yeah.
Because you're the only mug in this story. Right. You believe in it all.
High five. Great.
So this tankard's knocking about, right? And everyone who's running the pub keeps going, I wish they'd stop leaving this tankard about, right? And they pick it up.
It must be a pain. Having a tiny, small tankard in a pub. That must be a real grind.
So every time they sort of picked it up and went, we'll have to wash that, and they popped it on a different sideboard. Next thing you know, that person who's touched it died, right?
Sure.
So
they must have been getting through bar staff.
So they kept getting in new staff and that. And they were like, what's the connection here? Right?
What's the connection here?
Oh, God.
So anyway,
call Australia. We've run out.
So they sort of someone notices and they go, it's a bit weird. It's that cup, right? So they get
tankard.
So it's that tankard and that. So they get a vicar in.
Of course they do.
And they go, look, there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. This tankard, every time someone touches it, they die. So he said, leave it with me. He gets his special water out and what have you. He comes round, does a little prayer, sprinkles it. He goes, right, not a problem, don't worry about it. He picks it up, chucks it in the bin. Guess what?
What?
Dies in a crash on the way home. Because he'd picked it up.
Well, but Karl, you're telling me this like it's fact, and I'm meant to go, that's amazing.
Cora, he told me.
Karl, I have no opinion of that story, other than I'm pretty sure there was absolutely no connection between touching the tankard and him dying. That's all I'm sure of.
It's not just him though, is it?
I'm not going to even contest the chain of events. All I'm saying is there is no connection. There is no connection possible because I believe in logic and the laws of the universe. So when you're telling me miracles and strange things outside coincidence, you may as well be telling me about the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny because they're equal to me. That it's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous.
So what would it take though for you to go, I'm actually a believer now?
But what you're saying is I can't answer that question because I'd have to base my beliefs on some of your premises, which I can't do. It's like you saying, but what if you found out that 2 and 2 equaled 5? I can't. It's a necessary truth that it doesn't. I'd have to go back and fundamentally disagree with what I think twoism is, two-ness and fiveness.
And you've never been in a situation though where you've gone, this room feels a bit weird. Could be something, do you know what I mean? Could be something knocking about, or.
But that's a different question. I could go into a really rough-looking pub and think, this isn't good because it's based on induction. Then, because
I mean, like if you've been to Cornwall on holiday and stayed somewhere and you've gone, do you know what? I'm sure so much died in here.
I'm sure so much died everywhere.
Yeah, but what I mean, you never pick up a vibe of... Like, I've got a mate, right, who is living in this big stately home, right? And what it is...
Why is he living there?
He's paying £100 a month, right? And it's almost like he's being a security man.
Oh, right.
But he's not. He doesn't sit out the door with that on and everything. He just goes about his life, but he bases most of his work in this stately home.
So what is it, like a
housekeeper, like he's sort of house sitting?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's massive. It's bigger than Buckingham Palace, this place, right?
So what is it, a billionaire that's gone away or something?
I think it's some sort of... I think he said something about a viscount or something, right? He said he owns this place. He's living in America. This place he owns, but it's falling to bits.
Wow. And
he's worried that people are going to go in there and squat and what have you. So he said to me, mate, you know, there was an advert in the paper, he doesn't know him, advert in the paper saying, do you want to live in a big house? 100 quid or whatever. And he went and had a look, right? And he's living in there now. He pays £100 a month. There's about 80 rooms.
Gee.
And it's this big stately house and what have you. And I went down there. He said, oh, come down and have a look, right? And from outside you go, oh, this is brilliant. It's like something out of, you know, like the Man of Born or something. You go, this is impressive. But then when you get in, it's like it's a wreck.
It's just falling apart because they can't afford...
Well, it's just been left. No one's doing any vacuuming up or anything. There's like rat poison everywhere. Like windows are smashed, doors kicked in.
That's a real shame. Why is it? Is it?
I don't think he's doing his job, is he?
Is it because it would cost like millions to do up or something?
Well, apparently it'd be like I think they're going to have it done up, but it's going to cost like 80 million, right? So anyway,
it's a big house.
It's a big house.
So we go to the pub and what have you. I've got like a little torch, and we're wandering around looking in all these different rooms, right? And I'm asking him how's it got in this state? Do you know what I mean? If someone's had it, why have they let it get to this state? And he was saying how, you know, it was like a mental home at one point, and it was like a drug thing as well. People who had problems with drugs, they popped them out there because it's in the middle of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? If you needed drugs or anything, forget it. It's not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? So that's straight away. Do you know, like, have you ever been in a hospital when it's been shut down, or a school when there's no kids in it, and there's that sort of bad atmosphere of like weirdness?
Yeah.
Right?
For the sake of argument, yeah.
So we're wandering about, and I say, oh yeah, what's in this room, right? And we go in, and all the floors are like a wreck and rotten and stuff. And I looked at the wall, and there was like a little piece of paper stuck on the wall, right? And I said, what's this here? So I wandered over, right? Got right up close to it, and somebody had wrote it.
Somebody had wrote it?
Oh.
Somebody had wrote it.
I love this. Imagine him on Jack and Horry. Right, okay. Right, go on, sorry.
So there's a little sign there, right? And I go up to it, and it says, flies, right? With an arrow. Flies, like, flies this way, right? So I think that's a bit weird. So I follow the arrow, right? Which goes to this corner where there's a shelf. About 3,000 dead flies on it.
Oh my god.
Condom stuck on the top. That's weird, isn't it?
That is weird.
That is weird. Right? So I'm looking at that, and there's loads of stuff on the floor and that, bits of paper. Picked up this bit of paper, right? And it had, like in biro and that, it looked really old, like it'd been there years. And it had something like, need nappies, dummy, right? Blankets, blah blah, all this, like, all stuff for, like, and I turned it over, right, and it said, none of this now needed, baby dead.
Right.
Now that's weird, isn't it? Now that's what I'm talking about when you get a bad vibe. You go, that's who's been in here.
So I don't actually understand what point you're trying to make, Carl.
Just because who's written that? Who's been in that room? Who's been in that state? And then straight away your mind starts going, oh, I'm getting bad vibes in here.
But Carl, didn't you just tell us that it was once occupied by drug addicts and mentals, to use your word?
Yeah.
So haven't you put two and two together and thought that was probably who wrote it? That doesn't mean it's paranormal or ghostly. You walk into a building, it's a big, terrifying, empty house. It's terrifying in as much as it's cold and dark and drafty and a little bit spooky in this sort of illustrative sense.
And insecure.
Yeah, you're a bit nervous because you know, it's got this sort of, it's got its bad vibe. It's just based on the fact that
your mate's in charge.
Yeah, that's terrifying. I mean, yeah, so it's like saying, are we scared of the dark? Yes, I understand why people are scared of the dark. I'm a little bit scared of the dark. You're walking along.
Because you don't know what's in it.
Yeah, you don't know what's in the darkness. That's why people get nervous. It doesn't mean you have to make the leap then that you've got some paranormal sense. Oh my god, I'm Karl Pilkington, and hang on, just like Derek Acora, I have sensed something strange and evil in this room. Wait a minute, there's some flies in a condom. I was right all along.
That is weird.
Flies in a Johnny equals badness.
The flies in a condom was weird.
It's weird. I don't know.
But the note. I just think of his face when he saw that, reading it by torchlight. You must have been terrified.
It's a bit odd, isn't it?
Smiths, Cemetery Gates. Great, wasn't it?
Always cracking.
Off the Queen is Dead. Voted best album of all time, I think, in the NME poll. I don't think it is their best album.
Strangers Here We Come.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Cracking.
Anyway, Karl, yeah, so people are arguing on the flight. How did you enjoy Edinburgh, by the way, anyway? Because I saw you up there briefly with you and Nick Frost, your new mates, Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. You know, he prefers them to us now.
I know, apparently, I could tell that from just talking to him.
It was just, the way he was sort of looking at them, everything, he was just smiling at Nick Frost. It's his new best chum. You love Nick Frost, don't you?
Would you have preferred it, right, if I went to Edinburgh and had to sit with some people that I really didn't like? Would you have been happier for me?
No, do you know, but
so I had a great time with Simon and Nick, and they're nice people.
But he kept going to, oi, Nick, tell Ricky that story. And Nick and Simon, well, all it was, right? And they're ghost stories. He loves them because they believe in ghosts.
Oh.
It's not just
they're
that.
great blokes with a great sense of humour, just because they believe in ghosts. And you go and tell him that, he goes, how do you explain that? I was going, well, I wasn't there. What was that one you told me and it was completely wrong? About the...
It was, oh yeah, right, it's years ago.
Oh yeah.
Some
in olden days,
sure.
when ghosts roamed the earth.
Once upon a time, you mean?
Yeah.
Some doctor or something who was into, like, the way bodies work. They got their head cut off.
Who did? The doctor?
Yeah, he was doing a bit of an experiment.
And he cut his own head off?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was about, he said, when my head's in the basket, I'm gonna blink my eyes.
Right. Okay, sorry, hang on, let him finish.
And,
so the doctor has chopped his own head off, and he's told everyone, I'm going to blink my eyes to prove that there's
he's in the
life after
basket,
death.
and he goes like, right, I'm going to blink my eyes about, as many times as I can. So quick, count them. And they count, and he got to, like, 15 before he died.
Now, this is how Karl told me that. Till Nick Frost explained that, Karl told me, he said, right, well, a bloke, right, he had his head cut off, and when his head was in the basket, he went, count how many times I can blink. And I went, well, that's rubbish. He went, no. And Nick went, well, no, he actually said, when my head's in the basket. He went, and Karl went, all right. I said, Karl, do you know the subtle difference? Do you see the subtle difference?
I have to say, though, guys, I still don't really understand what went on there. You've both lost me.
The story is that a bloke who'd been found doing,
You mean that Karl just explained it and that was a clear version? Because I still don't know what you're talking about, Karl.
Well, this bloke had his head cut off at experiments against God. He was a doctor in the, in olden times.
Yeah.
And when they cut his head off...
Why did they cut his head off?
Because it was...
he was executed.
Crimes against... Exactly, he was executed, yeah. And, he said to his assistant, when my head's in the basket, I'm gonna blink, count how many times I blink and write it down as an experiment, right? Karl told it to me, like, his head was cut off and he went in the basket, and when his head was in the basket, he looked up and said, count how many times I blink. Yeah. I love that. I love the difference in that story.
Yeah.
Both rubbish, but, one's possible and one isn't.
You believe anything that you're told, except when we tell you the truth.
Right, here's one.
Christ.
Ghosts and that we got talking about.
Sure.
And Nick said, right, he said, you'll like this one. He said, my auntie was having loads of problems.
Why are you whispering? It's not illegal to talk about ghosts on the radio.
No, but
he's hearing this.
So the auntie's in the house and that, and furniture's moving about all the time.
Oh God.
And they were like, no,
Steve, you told me this one. This is such rubbish, mate.
No, come on, let's listen.
I'm gonna leave it to you. I'm gonna sit back and enjoy it. I'm just gonna watch your face, Steve.
Right.
Sorry, so I missed the beginning there, Karl. There's an auntie in the house.
Basically, Nick's auntie.
Right.
In the house, things moving around all the time. And it was just annoying every time she tidied up. It was like...
it was just annoying.
Making a mess.
It was one part annoying to two parts scary.
Yeah.
So... stuff was moving around all the time, and they said, right,
we need an housekeeper.
Rather than having the house a mess, until we sort this out.
Stop it! got the vicar coming round. Stop
I
moving
love
stuff around.
this. Oh, yeah, go on.
They said,
That shouldn't be in the pants drawer.
let's put all the furniture in one room, right?
Right.
So just have one room that's a mess, and have all the others empty.
Because I love the poltergeist can't really... it can move wardrobes around, but it can't open a door to put it in another room.
Yeah.
Poltergeist going, oh, I'm just making this room messy. I wish someone would open the door so I could... Go on.
Yeah, but so all this stuff's in this room.
So they
right?
moved all their furniture into
everything.
one
They
room.
put like the drawers in there and everything, and it was really uncomfortable because they were all like on top of each
They
other.
sat in the room with all the stuff.
Yeah, they had to because that's where the three-piece suite was.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Right.
All right.
Oh, God.
So they sat there, like, all crumpled up and that, but nothing can move because it's so tight.
Yeah.
I think things were trying to move,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
everything
yeah.
was so tight. It's
They
just like,
foxed that poltergeist.
so anyway, one night they sat there, like, sort of a bit awkward watching the telly and that, and they hear some banging
Yeah.
in the next room. So she goes, "Oh God, what's that?"
Oh, he hadn't moved in, had he, the ghost?
So
To some of the empty rooms.
so there's this
He's
bang,
moved some friends and family in.
there's this banging about going on.
No,
so
listen to this,
she
Steve.
gets up, right,
Yeah.
and what it is, they had the baby in the next room because there wasn't much room for the cot.
Right, so they left the baby with the ghost.
So they go into the room where the baby is, and the banging
Yeah.
is like, do you know those plastic balls you get that you can chuck round the room and like they go mental?
Right.
The ones that you chuck once and
Yeah.
they keep bouncing
Yeah,
for
yeah,
ages.
yeah.
That was bouncing around the room.
Why? What, the
hitting
baby had thrown it?
hitting all the walls, and the baby was there, stood in the cot, sort of laughing
Right.
and looking at the ball, and wherever it looked, the ball went.
Yeah.
And then she said, "Stop doing that,"
Yeah.
and the ball just stopped.
Did it?
And it rolled a bit and stopped.
Right. So the baby had thrown the ball and it was watching it as it bounced around the room.
It wasn't throwing it; it was in control of it.
No, the point is, Steve, the baby has been doing... It would have been the baby all along.
The baby had been messing with the furniture. It was
So
the
it's
baby
a
that had
super
the power. Yeah, it's the baby that had the power.
Special baby.
It's a baby that had the power. It's
What
a
power?
baby that had the power.
What-
the
what's
power
the power?
of telekinesis.
Right.
They were then trying to convince me that telekinesis was not like all the other stuff that I didn't believe in, but that was a science.
Right.
Telekinesis was possible.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not like ghosts and demons and all that sort of. Telekinesis is different.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a science.
But Nick's auntie saw it, and
I love the fact that you're telling me that someone else's auntie saw it. So I should be satisfied with that.
Yeah.
I should be satisfied with that. I mean,
So does she still live in one room with all her possessions?
no, I think
the baby grew out of it, apparently.
it grew
The
up.
baby grew out of it.
So it doesn't use its telekinesis powers
No.
anymore?
Well, no, it's
No.
like in Carrie, innit? She was upset for a bit, and then she got over it.
Okay, I'm just going to say one thing, Carl. That was a film. Do you want to play a record or...? Get free. Alright, on XFM
absolutely.
104.9. Can I just tell you a story that Carl told me a couple of weeks ago?
Is this another ghost story? Another
Yeah,
spooky
it is,
story?
yeah. I called him out. I was, what are you doing? He said, I've just been reading ghost stories again. He went, he said, you don't believe in them, but how do you explain this? Right, I went, go on. He said, I'll tell you as he told me it. He went, bloke, right, just sitting at home, doing, watching telly with his cat. And, the phone rings, and it's a bloke going, is that fire, in your oven okay now? 'Cause your wife called. And he went, Carl went, well, 1, there was no fire in the oven. 2, he wasn't married. I went, right. Go on, he went, well. Then, right, there was a knock at the door, and there was 2 sort of people in sort of white coats, and they came and said, we've come about that fire. Your wife called us. He went, 1, there isn't a fire in my oven, and 2, I'm not even married. Right? And he said, they saw the cat, and they looked at the cat. It looks a bit weird, the cat came out, nothing. And he said, and then he went back, sat down, phone rings, and they said, did they sort out the fire in the oven that your wife told us about?
Oh.
He went, 1, there is no fire in my oven. 2, I haven't got a wife. And Carl went, what do you think of that? I went, that's not it. He went, yeah. I went,
That's the end of the
I went,
story.
What? He went, well, how'd you explain that? I went, explain what? I thought it was going to say, a year later he got married, but she died in an oven fire. Right? I thought it was going to be that. And I went,
That's
what?
people winding him up.
Yeah, or someone did report a fire in the oven, and their name was Johnson, and they looked up Johnson, they got the wrong thing, it was the gas board, and they sent it round to the wrong person, right? You know, he went, yeah. I said, I explained it to him, he went, yeah. Why did they look at the cat funny?
Oh, man alive, Carl. This is really weird, right? I was in my house once, right, and the doorbell rang.
Yeah.
Right, I opened the door, there was no one there.
Yeah.
Right? And then I looked across the street,
There's some
right,
kids
and there were some
running-
kids running away.
Yeah.
Now, how do you explain that?
Yeah.
There was another time, right, where, like, I opened the door and there was a bloke goes, "You've ordered pizza." I went, "I haven't ordered pizza." And I heard my mate upstairs giggling and putting the phone down.
Yeah. How do you explain that? Carl, seriously, why did you tell me that story? What did you think that was weird about that?
The fact that it was 3 different people.
Is this all the information? Is that the entire story?
It was 3 different people.
Did you fall
hassling
asleep
him
and not read
about
the end?
A fire that didn't happen, about a wife that didn't exist, and a cat that didn't look happy.
Oh, I'm gonna have a heart attack, Carl. What? I mean, why did they look at the cat funny?
Because cats don't like spirits, do they?
What? The other blokes were ghosts?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
So these are kind of beetle about type ghosts. These are ghosts who walk the earth as the undead, just winding people up slightly.
That's lovely. That is lovely.
seriously,
and a cat
Carl-
that did not look happy.
But seriously, why would ghosts wander around just like winding people up?
Oh,
Maybe something did happen there years ago. Some fire, some woman might have died in the house of a fire or something.
Yeah.
And it sort of all happened again. Bit of a,
Yeah, it's certainly a mystery.
I mean, if you don't
it's a mystery. I mean, I can't.
What's this book you were reading? You were reading a book, which is interesting enough.
It was the for tea and Times.
Oh, Carl.
Yeah. Well, I
Man
don't know.
alive.
I don't know what to say.
Well, I'll tell you this, Carl. There is a track that will spook you right out. This is Warren Zevon from what was it, like about 1979, early 80s?
Oh, great track.
Werewolves of London. Play this, Carl, but don't be scared.
Fuck me like a cartoon.
But why are you wandering off reading a book when it's your brother's wedding?
No, this was like, we were in, I think it was St Ives in Cornwall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in St Ives, and just, you know, it was a nice day and that. There was no telly in the place. It was a horrible house. It was haunted, actually. No, honestly.
No, not honestly. It wasn't haunted. There's no such thing as ghosts. So you saying honestly it was haunted means fuck all.
It's the weirdest place and weirdest sensation I've ever had. I spoke to a woman called Mrs. Battersby,
Right.
who sat on my bed keeping me up all night. My mum came up, she said, "You look shattered." I said, "Yeah, I haven't had a kip all night." She said, "Why?" I said, "I've been talking to Mrs. Battersby." She said, "Who's that?" I said, "I don't know, some old woman." Now, I can't remember it now, but that's what I did then. And then,
Sorry. So Mrs. Battersby didn't exist. Is that what you're saying? She was the ghost.
yeah.
Wasn't the landlady.
No, there's no landlady. It's a big house,
Right.
about 12 bedrooms in it.
Right.
Dead cheap to stay there because it was a wreck. My
Were
mum
you
and dad
ill?
went
Were
out
you
one
ill?
night.
Did you have flu at the
No, I
time?
had nothing like that. I just...
So you were sitting up, but you were awake, and you were having a conversation with Mrs. Battersby.
What did she look like?
I can't remember. I can't even remember having the chat now.
Right,
But
so-
at the time, I was like, oh, she just doesn't shut up. Chatting all night.
So you don't remember this happening? Or you do remember it happening?
No, I remember that, like, if I see my mum now and I mention St. Ives, she'll go, "Oh, yeah, Mrs. Battersby." She remembers coming in because she was older than me, wasn't she? So to
Who?
her, my mum.
Was she?
How old was Mrs. Battersby? She was older than both
She
of you.
was old because I'm calling her Mrs. Battersby. If she was my age, I'd probably say, "Oh, it's Susan" or whatever.
Right, sure,
You
Miss
call
Bat-
older
Miss
people
Battersby.
by the surname, don't you?
Yeah.
Anyway, so she kept me
How
up
old
all
were you?
night. You know, I'm thinking of pictures at the wedding.
Why do you have to go through other things to just have a memory?
How old do you reckon you were?
I don't understand why you haven't got direct access to your memories.
How old do you reckon you were?
Your mum was older, though, yeah?
You must have a vague idea of when this
I'm
event
thinking
was.
about it now. I'm thinking. I'm
Okay.
picturing the picture of myself at this wedding.
Okay.
And how old are you? What are you doing?
How tall were
I'd say
you?
I look about.
How were you?
I'd say I look about 7 or 8. Looking at the picture.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So Mrs. Battersby is chatting away to you. You don't remember what she said, but you do remember having the conversation.
No, he doesn't remember it
I
at
don't
all.
remember the chat now.
Well, then
So-
why are you telling us?
It's
You
not
must
your
remember it
memory.
because you're telling us about
It's not
it.
your
Because it's a
memory.
memory. My mum's reminded me of it.
Yeah, but all it says is, this is so far removed. This is hearsay that your mum said you spoke to a ghost once, and you don't even remember the ghost.
Mrs. Battersby.
No,
Yeah,
you
no, but
remember
you
the
don't
name
remember
only because
her.
your mum reminded you of
In a
it.
court of law, if there was a ghost court, they go hearsay, thrown out of court.
Right.
You
yeah.
don't have a memory of Mrs.
No,
Battersby.
look, I know that when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I ate a beetle. I ate a beetle because I thought it was licorice. Now, I can't remember that now.
You can't remember that, but you know it happened because your mother told you it happened.
Exactly.
Right. But the fundamental thing is that we can believe you ate a beetle, right? Because that is something that could happen in real life. But what we're questioning is that you spoke to a ghost.
I thought it was licorice. What sort of beetle was it?
Just one of them standard beetles, just the black shiny one.
Thing is, right, a couple of years ago, we were in the Ivy, and the food came, and there's a big blob of wasabi, right? It was like called an Oriental hors d'oeuvre, right? And I looked over at Karl, and he started going, drinking water. I said, what have you done? He said, I heard that. I said, that was a blob of wasabi. He said, I thought it was one mushy pea.
That's a classy restaurant that they're serving one mushy pea.
Well, they do that, don't they?
Wow.
Small portions. It's all trendy, isn't it?
I love the fact that it's exactly the same thing. They've swapped beetle for wasabi and licorice for pea. You see things, you see something, you
It's
think...
a good job you remembered that anecdote, though, because he doesn't.
Exactly, yeah. In years to come, we'll be going, ate some wasabi once. Did you?
Yeah.
Well, according to Ricky, I did, yeah. I was in the Ivy. I thought it were mushy pea.
So hang on, I just want to go back to Mrs. Battersby because you confidently said it was haunted. It was the most haunted place.
Yeah.
But you've got no real evidence for it because even you claim you had this encounter, you don't even remember it.
But you don't remember everything in life,
But you
do you?
supposedly had a conversation with a ghost.
I know, but I didn't know. When I was younger, I
But you
didn't think
remember
that
the
was a
specifics
ghost.
of an ant walking around.
Yeah, so you thought, so I see. If you'd have had the memory, it would just be a nice old lady on the end of your bed all night.
Right.
And then...
Then when I mentioned it, my mum was saying, what do you mean, Mrs. Battersby? Who's Mrs. Battersby?
Right.
When you're a kid, you're not terrified, are you?
No.
Nothing scares
I mean,
you.
I'm beginning to think, who the fuck is Mrs. Battersby, I must admit. But
So, yeah, that was... but it was a weird place. I mean, there was no telly. All they had for sort of company was a calculator.
Carl, you're the strangest little man that's ever lived. Company, he had a company.
No.
There goes Karl with his friend. What's his friend? Oh, it's a little...
It's a Sanyo 4197G.
I love that. That's amazing.
Oh, calculator, do that boobs thing again.
My mum and dad used to go out. I stayed in there.
Just shots of him with his calculator on the beach. My only friend was the calculator. Oh, God. Just imagine shots of him in Vietnam. He's carrying Tommy.
When the batteries died, they had to have a funeral for him.
His batteries were all over the floor. Oh, fucking hell. My only company was a calculator. Before that, I used to knock around with a brick. Oh, God. Oh, fuck me. Ash, there's a star on XFM 104.9. Now, Steve.
Yes.
Karl text messaged me in the week, very excited, because he just watched a programme that proved me and you were stupid. Remember we sort of championed the anti-supernatural?
Yes. Sceptical view.
We're just absolutely sceptical about things like that. We're atheists. We don't believe in ghosts, anything like that. Anything supernatural. We're followers of James Randi, a genius of our times. But Karl saw something that proved us wrong. I'd like Karl to tell you what this proof was, what he saw on, and look at him. Go on then.
It was on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
I was watching... you see, the problem is I didn't get the full story, so you could pick holes out of it.
Sure.
Unlike your usual investigations into the supernatural.
Which are
It was called... Can I just tell you what the programme was called?
Mr. Exorcist.
Oh, brilliant.
So
Sounds like an academic work to me.
the bit that I caught, I just flicked it over, sort of seeing what's on the telly, and I thought, oh, Exorcist, I've seen it, but there's nothing else, and I watch it, and then I realised it wasn't the same thing.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, I'll have a bit of this. And there was an old woman and a daughter, and as far as I was aware, the bit I picked up on, they were saying, oh, you know, it's dreadful, and unless you've been through it, you know, you've had ghosts in your house and that, you really don't know what it's like.
Yeah, sure.
And the main thing that seemed to be getting them down was the fact that the budgie was getting stressed.
The budgie was getting stressed?
Because animals can sense the other side,
Oh,
can't
okay.
they?
Can they?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And how was that manifesting itself? You don't know. What was the budgie doing?
I think it just wasn't happy.
Right. Did it explain that to people, or
No,
how did it express that?
Budgies are known for being chirpy, aren't they?
I said it wasn't chirpy.
It normally swings on its little perch and that. And
Just depressed because it was possessed.
It was just sat around in its pyjamas.
so
No, come on, Steve. Come on, Steve. You're making this a mockery. So the budgie was depressed because he could sense the ghost.
Yeah, and then this guy, this Mr. Exorcist, came round.
Was that his name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was he a priest or something?
Yeah, he might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I picked
Did he have like a black coat with a little white collar? That's usually the.
He had his coat on, so you couldn't tell.
No, I'm sure. Okay.
But so he came round and he sort of did his thing, and then.
And was he trying to exorcise the budgie?
No, the ghost.
house.
Right.
The
so
house,
it
yeah.
wasn't that the budgie had a demon
clearing
on
the
it.
house
No.
out.
Okay.
No, this
So-
wasn't a possession, was it? This was a straightforward. It wasn't a poltergeist or anything. It was just a.
It was a haunted house.
Yeah, but
Sure.
that's the thing he was saying. He was saying you can have like your ghouls and that aren't that bad, that aren't going to cause you any problems.
Yeah,
But obviously the budgie, they've got weak hearts and that, haven't they? And
Sure.
I don't
So
know.
he go on.
so anyway, basically he sorted it out, did whatever he did, and the next shot you see is like the budgie making a noise and swinging
It's
the
happy
lights
again.
over the moon again, and the old woman was like happy because she was.
She couldn't
getting
believe it.
stressed.
Yeah.
And that's
The priest didn't come in and go, well, you should feed that bird. Give it a bit of millet. It was happy. He goes, right.
No,
See you
it's-
later. No. It was a. So it's-
Budgies are. My mum's got a budgie, and they're fairly happy all the time, aren't they? So it's got to be something very odd.
You never see a budgie sitting down going, I feel like topping myself, to be honest.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Though?
No.
Do you know
no.
you can have like a moody dog? You can see a dog when it's unhappy if it's walking down the street.
You can have a moody canary, can't you? And what they do is they often tell the police what you've been doing. They're known for that. Yeah.
So
basically,
so that for you is proof that the supernatural exists. A bird in a cage got a little bit annoyed, wasn't chirping as much as it normally did. Who knows why? There could have been a little draft up its, and
Cloaca.
exactly.
That's
Anyway,
a medical term.
Anyway, a man came in and did whatever he did.
Yeah.
Use your phrase.
Mr. Exorcist, though, Steve.
Yeah.
This wasn't any bloke off the street. This was Mr. Exorcist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And for you, that's the proof that there's.
just because, like, if it was a person, you go, they're playing up for the camera.
Yeah, a budgie could possibly act like that, Steve.
Yeah, I see what you mean. You're saying a budgie would not be trying to. It wouldn't be trying to become famous. or
No,
just want to get
not
on the
like
telly.
not like Lassie.
No, sure.
It was
sure.
basically a show off.
Yeah, or Champion the Wonder Horse.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think
I've changed my tune, Rick. I don't know about you.
I have, and I think we should play a record.
I'd love to get Mr. Exorcist in. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Never dabble with things you don't understand,
Sorry.
like women. See what I did there?
Oh, he's turned that back on me.
Boys and girls.
Girls and boys, embarrassed to say.
You know how I don't like going to the doctors and stuff?
Yeah.
Right.
Because you're always scared that they might investigate below the bridge.
Yeah, but I checked on that before. I signed up to it, and then they said, right, before we can take you on as a patient, you've got to have a health check, right? Which I thought was odd, because it's almost like saying, if you're ill, we can't be having you coming here, right? But I said, right, okay, fair enough. What is this health check? And they said, oh, we just check your body out and make sure you're fit and healthy. And I thought, that isn't enough information. I want to know if it's the old finger trick, or and I said, what do you mean though? When you said health check, what do you do? And she said, oh, it's just, I think she knew what I was getting at. And she said, oh, it's just the blood pressure, your height, your weight. That's about it. So I went and had it and stuff. But you had to, before you sort of said, right, I want this doctor, they give you loads of forms to fill out, right? And one of the things they did was, if you die, what do you want to give away? Right? Like a donor.
Mm.
And what have you, and I thought, I really thought about it for 40 minutes or so. I didn't just rush into it. I was sat there thinking, if I'm dead, does it matter and stuff? But I was really concerned when it said about the eyes.
Right.
Right. Why? What do you mean? What? Because can they have your eyes after you die?
It was. I think it was fourth on the list.
Why do you care about giving your eyes away when you're dead?
Just because of that thing of, we don't know for sure yet. I know that you poo-poo it, but the afterlife thing.
So why, in an afterlife, would you want your eyes more than your liver and your kidneys and your lungs and your heart?
Because ghosts don't eat, do they? So you don't need all your liver and your kidneys and stuff, because they're only there to sort your food out. But your eyes, if you're a ghost, I don't want to be a blind ghost. Because you're around forever then, aren't you? Once you're a ghost, that's it. So the idea of being blind when you're alive, you go, well, all right, then maybe in the afterlife I might be treated to a pair of eyes. But the fact of wandering about, dead for years, bumping into stuff...
Oh, God! Oh, it's amazing!
So,
that's an amazing image!
So I didn't tick that box.
But why? I don't understand. In your theory of the afterlife, why is it that this ghostly Karl, why can he survive without a heart, but he can't survive without eyes? Why? Do you see what I mean? Surely, if you're this ghostly apparition, you can just see everything and you can do everything. You don't need the body.
No,
because you're a ghost.
Yeah, I know, but I think when you're a ghost. Say, like how they've seen ghosts in...
Right, could I just say now for any listeners, this is not the thoughts and beliefs of the management. There is no such thing as ghosts. I do not believe in ghosts. I do not believe in ESP or any mumbo-jumbo. Carry on, Karl. So when there's a ghost, yeah...
When they see ghosts in, like, old castles and stuff...
Yeah.
They've had their head cut off because they've been up to no good, right, years ago.
But they're carrying it around normally under their arm.
That's what I'm saying. It hasn't reattached itself. So if you take the eyes out...
But Karl, how is this ghostly creature able to function? It doesn't have its head on anyway. It's carrying it under its arm. So the suspicion is it doesn't need its head.
No, it does.
It just happens to be carrying it around because it wants to keep it with it.
The ghost is always in the last condition that it was in when it was in...
Who makes these rules?
The way you are in your last bit of life is how you are as a ghost forever, even in the fashion. Like I say, the ghosts that you see never wear modern clothes, so it's always the Victorian stuff. Now, if they could change it, they would, but they can't because they're stuck with it. So that's
why did you see cavemen ghosts? When did ghosts start? They didn't kick in till about 1830, did they? What if you die when you're having a rectal examination? Are you always bent forward with your trousers around your ankles and someone's finger up your arse?
But why would you die when you're having that done? That's why I'm not having it done. If that's you saying.
No. But you might have both been suddenly killed in a terrible disaster.
Yeah, a meteorite hit you.
That's when you get the moaning ghosts, isn't it? They're the ones who aren't happy.
So you're going round bent forward, you've got a doctor's finger up your arse, and what are you doing?
You're sort of going, oh... And that's when you have to get the vicar round.
What do you mean?
Because they have to put you to rest and what have you, don't they?
And what does a vicar do when he's going... So I get the vicar round. It's years later, it's 100 years later, you're around this doctor's surgery and there's people coming, and the doctor there, the new doctor there, and it's 2073, and they go... Vicar. They go, Vicar, there's a strange ghostly apparition. It looks like an old doctor, right, and he's got his fingers up this sort of like little... It's like a chimpanzee, but with a shaved head.
No, but the doctor wouldn't be... Are you saying the doctor dies as well?
Yeah, you both die.
You die at the same time with his finger up your arse. And so you're forever having a little rectal examination with your little trousers around your ankles.
Well, that's when it'd be best not to have your eyes.